This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is July 7th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, how we doing?
I'm good, man. Enjoyed a nice holiday weekend. Hope you did as well. Did you do anything wild or crazy for the 4th?
No. Went and played golf. Had a funny feeling. I'm in the car, getting ready to go check in, all that good stuff. And I said, you know what? I just have a weird feeling that I'm going to go do this. Because free agency starts, and for 4 straight days, I was glued to my phone. Like my screen time, like 10 hours a day, just pathetic levels of glued to my phone, refreshing, waiting for Shams or, Michael Scotto, Chris Haynes, any type of update. That didn't come. And I told myself, now that I'm actually putting my phone away for the next 4 hours, something is going to happen. Didn't have any kind of heads up. Tweeted that out. I go to the range. I actually left my phone on the range, had to run back and get it. But I picked my phone up to your text, which was, ha, 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 ha. Don't worry, I've got Twitter. Like something to that extent. And then, yes, seeing that Moe Wagner had signed for 1 year. Really surprised at the terms. We can talk a bit about that. But no, other than that, played golf badly on the 4th. Wife and kids, we're out of town visiting the in-laws in North Carolina. But yeah, and then if you're watching on YouTube, I did all of this, which you can see, reoriented my desk and got some new lights and, updated the visuals. But that's kind of how I spent my 4th.
I didn't even know that. My family is also out of town in North Carolina. So how about that?
Really?
We're both living the
Where in
bachelor
North
life
Carolina?
I'm not going to disclose that on the internet. But anyway,
okay.
No, just kidding. Eastern North Carolina, different part of
Western North Carolina for mine.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was
remember
miserable and bored the whole time. So
yeah,
as it goes. You're like, it'd be nice to have some time. And then I'm like, well, now what do I do? Went and played golf and came here and just sat here and watched YouTube.
Well, the new look looks good, by the way.
Thank you.
Love
Thank
the
you
way
very
that
much.
looks. It's
Appreciate
like you're
that.
looking right into my eyes. It's great.
Yeah. I'm not looking up anymore. I was like, I don't really trying to get all of this set up so that it was, a better angle and you weren't just looking at the top of my head. Anyway, it took some, orchestrating all of this and getting everything in the right spot. So
speaking of orchestrating, I'm just kidding. Jeff Weltman's orchestrated a masterpiece. I don't know. That's all I'm going to say.
No,
Moe Wagner, $5 million.
Phenomenal job. We'll talk about the Joe Prunty stuff. We'll talk about Noah Penda, Tyus Jones, that now being official. But yeah, 1 year, when I saw $5 million, I almost couldn't believe it. Honestly, the fact that he got less than Tyus Jones and the fact that they could only, figure out, a 1 year thing, and the $5 million with it being a 1 year deal, it didn't feel great for me for Mo. Like, that kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, is he going to sign a multi-year deal at $5 million? Like, there's no reality where that was happening. So this is, and I know you had tweeted it out, but this is very much a prove it deal for Moe Wagner now. Like 1 year, your value is, as low as it is because of the injury, but this team knows that if you have a good season, like you're going to bounce back and they'll be able to sign you, to a higher rate. But that also tells me that someone is on the move in the next year or so. And it could be Mo. I think it's a pretty low likelihood that it is Mo, who isn't a magician, a year from now, which the social media team tweeted that out. I forget who it was about, like a week or so ago, like so-and-so is a magician. And it's like, fine, let's do that. Because we've never said that. It's always been like, oh, he's a magic,
right,
which doesn't exactly make sense. So I'm just going to use the magician term from now on, I guess. But a year from now, somebody that we value and really like is not going to be on this team. And there's already been speculation. I think the easiest names to point to are like J.I., Goga, Wendell, Moe Wagner. Like those are all the pieces that seem probably the most likely to be moved at some point. We don't really know who, or it's not a guarantee that it is going to be one of those guys, but today was kind of the start of that. I know we'll talk a little bit about Caleb. Doesn't seem like Caleb's going to be back. And well, I guess Cole was really the start of that, but
yeah.
And you've mentioned it on several pods since, but this is the start of there are going to be moves that maybe they're not going to like make or break you, but that don't really feel good.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we'll talk about this in a second, but when we say Moe could be on the move, he won't be on the move this year. He's got a no-trade clause, and we'll talk about that in a second. But what I wanted to mention really fast is, if you remember, Jonathan, at the end of our last episode, Thursday's show, we were going through the possibilities. How can we keep Moe? And we said option one is Jet gets traded. And there's a lot of possibilities, but these are the things we were leaning towards. Jet gets traded to open up some space. We said Goga could be traded to open up some space. Jet could be waived. And then we said there's always another door, because this front office, time and time again, has found ways to get creative by doing things that neither of us or any Magic fans really envisioned. And so when we got on here the last episode and said, there's just no way to bring back Moe without getting rid of some salary, we were doing that from the mindset of there's no way that Moe Wagner is going to re-sign for a number like $5 million. Like, we thought Moe's number, I certainly thought Moe's number was going to be significantly higher. We knew he was going to be taking a little bit of a pay cut because of the ACL. Just to remind everybody, this year he was due $11 million as part of that team option, which the Magic declined. But I was thinking, like, if there's a subtraction from the ACL stuff, I'm thinking like $3 million, maybe $4 million. So that puts him in the $7 to $8 million range, which again is what factors into some of the stuff we talked about in the last episode. So to see that $5 million number was really surprising, especially considering some of the numbers we've seen or that we saw from other big men were receiving from other teams. And so I think it's first and foremost just another indicator of Moe wanting to be here. And again, I think there's a part of it that is about playing with Franz, and I think that might be a big part. But I think equally, maybe even more so, it's just about being a part of this team and of this family atmosphere. And he's got friends here, and he's been here a long time, longer than Franz. So lots of credit to Moe. I have no doubt there were other teams out there that were offering him more. How much more? I don't know. But I am very confident that Moe took a discount to stay in Orlando. And like you said, it is a 1-year deal. It is a prove-it deal. I think there's a good chance that there weren't any multi-year deals out there for him. I think it's very possible. Teams can be hesitant about ACL recoveries, especially from big men. But yeah, I like you said, I feel for Moe, because obviously before the injury, he earned the $11 million option. Like, he was on fire. Honestly, earned more than that. But this gives an opportunity for Moe to prove it. And having him for a year at $5 million, if he's healthy and plays like he does, or like he did before the injury, is going to be one of the best contracts in the entire association. It's going to be elite. And I hope we'll see that from him, and I think we will.
Yeah, I do want to go back to one thing that you said, because I do want to give credit to some people on Twitter had kind of floated out the idea of like, oh, well, what if he comes back on a minimum? And in my mind, I was like, I just don't see that, because it felt to me that the market would dictate his value would be a little bit higher than that. But what I really underestimated was just the lack of space that there would be, in the cap situation around the league. And we've seen kind of everything dry up like so quickly this offseason. So had I had a better understanding that, like, no, teams just aren't going to have space to go out and sign guys like they used to, or it does sound like there's going to be more cap available next summer, but this just happens to be like a really dry summer. Like, if you think back to the summer of 2016, where we gave both Bismack Biyombo and Evan Fournier $17 million a year, like the next year or two, there just wasn't a ton of cap, because there was that huge cap spike. And teams just went out and spent it all like that first summer, instead of, the cap smoothing mechanics that we have now. So there are some people that thought this was possible. But again, I just personally didn't understand that there just wasn't going to be cap out there. So to some people's credit, they did see this coming. I did not. But what I want to talk more about was just like the anxiety, I guess. I don't want to say maybe anxiety is a step too far, but the level of concern that I had as free agency went on that maybe Moe wasn't going to be back, even though we had, indications from Tim Reynolds and Jason Beatty, sources close to the team that reported they had a good feeling that he would be back. As time went on, it's like, well, what are they waiting for, right? Like, we all know, or maybe you don't know, but the mechanics of signing these deals in like very specific orders is important. Basically, like the team is going to announce that they have signed Moe to his extension, or not to his extension, but to a new deal, either like last or next to last, maybe just next to Paolo signing his extension, because they're able to do that because they have these guys' bird rights and can go over the cap to re-sign them. So that's why we saw stuff like Noah Penda and Tyus Jones, that stuff already come out. So I had a level of concern that maybe he wouldn't be back, and why is it taking so long? So when I saw your text and then I saw the subsequent tweet, just a huge feeling of relief. Like my buddy was like, are you even going to be able to focus like now that that just happened? I'm like, no, dude, my mind is freed up. I don't have to think about this anymore. I'm just so thrilled that the guy is back. And, found a clip from a post-game interview, or not post-game, halftime interview from earlier this year. Dante talking to Moe just about, the score of the game, and just Moe's reaction. Like, no, like, I don't care what the score says. We're not playing to our standard. And having, yes, it's helpful that it's Franz's brother. I don't think there's like a Franz tax. Maybe for Moe, there's a Franz tax where like, hey, I'm willing to take less because I want to stay here and I want to play with my brother. There have been people talking about a German podcast that Moe was on that was recorded the night of the draft, which I haven't watched it, but enough people that I respect and trust have watched it and have said that basically he said that he is willing to take less money to stay playing with Franz. So I think, that's an element to it. But just the fact that the player that he is, but also the guy that he is, and the mindset, the mentality, and the approach that he brings to that locker room after you've moved on from Cole, I didn't really feel comfortable with the Magic, thinking they could afford to lose all of that in one offseason. So I'm just thrilled that the dude is back, thrilled that maybe he took a discount, maybe he didn't. We don't know what offers were out there, but the people that are saying like Magic Life or all that kind of stuff, I would love that. And I'm actually disappointed with myself right now because I forgot I meant to wear my Moe Wagner jersey for this pod. I bought that like a week before the dude tore his ACL last season. I was at a game. I forget what game it was, but went to a game, bought the Moe Wagner jersey, and then the dude tears his ACL like a week later. But meant to wear that, and just super stoked that he's here at least another year, and hopefully they can figure out ways to keep him around long term.
Yeah, a couple things. A lot of people saying that Moe has given us discounts on multiple occasions, including this summer, which is true. I also want to remind, and this doesn't detract from Moe doing this now. Please don't mishear me. I'm not saying, oh, well, he owed the Magic, but don't forget he had the $8 million contract a couple years ago, 2 years, $16 million, $8 million per year, that the Magic declined that team option to sign him to the 2-year, $22 million one, the $11 million per year. So they could have opted into that team option and paid him $8 million 2 seasons ago, or I guess it would have been last season, 23-24. But instead, that's when they signed him to that other 2-year deal with a team option. But that was $11 million per year. So they actually paid him $3 million more in 23-24, But regardless, the other thing I was going to say, because of those back-to-back 2-year deals with team options and this 1-year deal for $5 million, that by league rules comes out to be 3 consecutive 1-year deals signed with the same team, which under this new CBA, hey, we're learning new stuff about the CBA all the time. I learned about this 24 hours before the Moe Wagner thing with the Jackson Hayes signing, where it was, the headline was Jackson Hayes re-signs with the Los Angeles Lakers and has a no trade clause. And everyone's like, what in the world? But turns out the new CBA, if you sign a 1-year deal with the same team 3 consecutive times, then you are automatically guaranteed, like it's locked in, that you have a no trade clause. So Moe Wagner for this season has a no trade clause because even though he signed 2-year deals, because the second year of both those deals was an option, it came out to be, and the Magic declined it, it came out to be 2 1-year deals plus this one, which is 3. The new CBA is just wild. Like and I don't know if I can still call it new. It's been around for a while, but there are just so many random things and things you have to remember. But anyway, so Mo's not going to be traded this year, which is pretty cool. He's guaranteed to be on the roster from now until, next summer at least. And then we'll figure it out once he, either earns a big payday or whatever might happen. But yeah, glad he's going to be with us this season.
Yeah. Just the fact that we don't have to worry about that now. I think attention now will go to waiting on the Paolo extension. And obviously, he's still got family stuff that he's attending to, which is way more important. I would still assume that news is coming within the next couple of weeks. Some people are saying, well, technically they can wait until October. I don't think either side wants to wait until October to get that done. And there really shouldn't be a ton of negotiating there. One point, I do think that this, like the Moe Wagner injury, does have the potential to kind of be a blessing in disguise moving forward, because had he not gotten injured, probably would have been due for like a significant pay increase this offseason. Now, maybe they say, well, look, like because of everything going on, we can't really afford to give you that like extension right now. Maybe they just pick up the team option. But you have to think that this is a guy who was probably set to have a little bit of a pay bump had his season finished out the way that it was, on pace for. Maybe at that point he's making, $14 or $15 million. You don't have the ability to go out and get a guy like Tyus Jones. Maybe the cap situation's even a little bit tighter. Maybe they don't keep the 25th pick and pick up a player, like Jace Richardson or make the move to pick up Noah Penda. So I do think there is an element where like that injury ends up being beneficial for us. When I was thinking about this a few days ago, I was thinking like, well, if they come to a multi-year agreement with him at a lower rate, like whether it was like, $7 or $8 million, then it really is helping you. But at least for this year, and the Magic are going to make a push. We talked about not only the roster might need an upgrade, but this coaching staff, also seems like it needs a little bit more help on offense on that side of the ball. And the Magic have reportedly come to an agreement with Joe Prunty, assistant coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. We can go back, jump right into that. He's got kind of a decorated history throughout the NBA here. I think it's 20 years he's been in the league at this point. 56 years old, has had, I think it was 5 seasons with San Antonio Spurs, underneath Greg Popovich, won a title there. Then was with the Dallas Mavericks for 3 years, in Portland for 2 years, in Cleveland for 3 years. Part of that on the same staff as Jamal Mosley as well. Then was in Brooklyn, was in Milwaukee for, 5 years there. Took over for Jason Kidd in the 17-18 season as the interim coach. Ended up going 21-16 in 37 games. And as the 7 seed, they took the 2 seed Boston Celtics to 7 games that year. And then was in Phoenix, then was with Nate McMillan and Quinn Snyder in Atlanta for a time, and then was with Adrian Griffin in Milwaukee until last year when Doc Rivers took over. And then he was with Doc Rivers, for the last year here, but also had some interim stuff with Milwaukee last year after Adrian Griffin was let go before they brought in Doc Rivers. And by all accounts, and we've talked to our friend Ty Windish, who does the Eurostep pod, covers the Milwaukee Bucks for the Blue Wire network, talked to him, and he was like the offensive play caller, for the Milwaukee Bucks, and has a long history of that. So what we've been asking for, the Magic to go out and get a guy who's a little bit more offensive minded. This Joe Prunty, I don't want to call it a signing. It sounds weird when you're talking about a staff, but Hiring. There we go. Perfect. This does seem exactly what the Magic needed, so I'm excited about this. What are your thoughts, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I mean, he's coming up on 30 years in the league, which is crazy. And it's not like, a few jobs here and there were 30 years. I was just looking through his resume. Out of the this would be season 30. Out of the 30 seasons since he started in the league, there's only been 2 seasons where he hasn't been employed. Like that's insane. And the 2 seasons were COVID seasons, 2019 to 20 and 20 to 20 to 21. Outside of that, he has been employed as an assistant or an interim head coach for 28 out of the last 30 seasons in the NBA. That is outrageous. Like, this is a very proven and trusted assistant. Also important to mention, you may have mentioned it earlier, but shared the bench with Jamal Mosley in Cleveland for a few years there, which is, I'm assuming that's how that connection was made. And I'm guessing it's a guy that Jamal Mosley thinks highly of, obviously, and that's why he's brought him in. But yeah, I mean, we've been asking for an offensive-minded coach. This is an offensive-minded coach, fresh off the heels as well of the Shamgod hiring as well. Just, I mean, what was that, 48 hours earlier, something like that? So big moves on the Magic, coaching bench, which is great. And yeah, I mean, obviously both guys very well respected. And yeah, I mean, bring 2 things that the Magic desperately need, right? They need continued player development because we still have a ton of young guys. Team projected to be good, but team is still projected to be young. Shamgod also known for, being able to coach guys to be better ball handlers and take care of the ball better. And that's something we need too. And then you add Joe Prunty, this team needs offense. It needs a new offensive brain to help kind of reorchestrate some things and, maybe kind of give guys some new assignments offensively, and you hire him. It's just another big win, and hopefully it works out. And yeah, again, things Magic fans have been begging for, they just keep happening, and it just feels too good to be true. Like, we've been begging for all these things in the span of literally a month, Jonathan. We got almost everything we've wanted for a long time. Like, think about it. The rebrand, that was literally, like 33 days ago or something like that. We get the rebrand, we get the Desmond Bane, we get the Jace Richardson, which a lot of people feel like is a steal at 25. Noah Penda, we'll see, but then Shamgod and Joe Prunty and like all these things in a row.
Jones.
Yeah. Tyus, we haven't even talked about him yet. Yeah, it's all kind of crazy.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Jam Hot Chicken is proudly serving the city beautiful. They're bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. Jam Hot Chicken is a Nashville and LA inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated in Winter Park, Florida, located at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. Be sure to follow Jam Hot Chicken at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media, and head on over to jamhotchickenfl.com to access the menu, online ordering, all things Jam Hot. And now you can order Jam Hot through the Uber Eats app if you are local and are looking for delivery. Once again, a big shout out to our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. They're huge Magic fans, huge fans of this show and this community. So head on over to Jam Hot Chicken and let them know that the boys over at the 6-Man Show sent you.
The show is also brought to you by our amazing patrons over at patreon.com/the6man show. These are the people that financially support the show, and they believe so much in what we're doing that they say, hey, we want to support you every step of the way. And so big shout out to all of them. A specific shout out on this episode to Caleb Pete, Shahin177, Fritz, Ty Mr. TV, and Sir Sundown. On each episode, we shout out 5 of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons, which is what I just did today. And so big shout out to each of those. Hey, for our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons, we have a very special thing we're doing for the Magic's first Summer League game coming up on Thursday. And so, again, if you're a Hall of Fame or Elite tier patron, go check out our Patreon page for the more information about that. Or if you're kind of interested in what we might be doing, you can sign up at the Hall of Fame or Elite tier as well. Again, go to patreon.com/the6man show, pick the tier that's right for you. And yeah, we'd love to have you join our mission as we continue to try to grow this fan base. And so without further ado, let's get back to the episode.
I tweeted out yesterday that had you told us that this is kind of how everything that you just went through, if you told us this is what the organization is going to look like in 5 months, like I really don't think I would have believed you. And all the pressure that Jeff had, like going into this offseason, And we talked about it for literally months. I mean, we talked about it. It feels like every other pod, like from February to the end of the season, and so far here to start the offseason, it kind of quieted us a bit with the Desmond Bain trade, because we're like, okay, well, we weren't expecting that, and that's a huge move, but has done about as good of a job as you could ask for to this point in the offseason.
Yeah, and I just gotta say something. Like I respectfully, I say this respectfully. We've tweeted several times over the last few days, like, this is a grand slam of an offseason. Like, Jeff Weltman has done us Magic fans proud. We're so excited for the year. And what grinds my gears, Jonathan, and I love everyone who follows us on social media. You all are great. If you watch our show, even better. That's amazing. I love you all. But there's one thing that has bothered me over the last week or so. And it's when people reply and say, well, it doesn't matter how it looks on paper. They got to prove it on the court. Like, you don't think we know that? Like, of course. Like, we're Orlando Magic fans. We've never won anything on paper. That's not how this works. You know how many times us Magic fans have been excited about something on paper and it hasn't worked out? Like, we know we can be excited. There's, like I said, there was a checklist of things Magic fans wanted this offseason. And so far, Jeff Weltman and company are checking each one off. And so, yeah, we're going to be excited for it. But yeah, we also know that they've got to prove it on the court. They've got to prove it from October to April. And then more importantly, April, May, June. And not just this season, but future seasons. All of those things we understand. But golly, let us be excited. Like, some good things are happening. It's okay to be excited. You can be a little bit scared, which we are, but be a little bit excited too. That's all. Respectfully.
Cook, bro.
Okay.
You talking about, like, we've been excited for things, on paper before and they haven't worked out. And I was actually just scrolling through our Twitter, and I had tweeted about a listener of the show and follows us on social media. All the summer league stuff was going on, like the first couple of the California Summer League that started the last few days. Those first couple of games were going on, yesterday or the day before, and people were like, "Oh, well, overreacting to Summer League," and talking about that. And he tweeted out the Mario Hezonja dunk in his Summer League debut, in which later on in that game he hits the game-winning three, all that kind of stuff. And it just brings me back. I remember sitting at now it's my mother-in-law, but it was my girlfriend's mother's house, having a cookout like around the 4th of July. Everybody's outside, and I'm sitting inside in the dark on my little Mac laptop watching that Summer League game and thinking about all of the, like, dinners and, holiday parties. And like, I remember being at a Sweet 16 and just sitting on my phone in the corner watching the Magic get blown out, like, all the time. And just thinking, like, how invested we were, like, specifically in that game. Like, Aaron Gordon goes crazy. I think that was his second year, if I'm not mistaken. He dropped like 20 plus in that game. Mario Hezonja has that huge dunk, game-winning three, and we're like, this is the future, man. I always think back to that photo from 2016 All-Star in Toronto of Elfrid, Victor Oladipo, Aaron Gordon, and Mario Hezonja. I think it was like the Rising Stars game. Like, I think that might have been the first year they did like the USA versus the world, like the rookie sophomore game. And just thinking, like, man, this is the future of our team, all this kind of stuff. That totally not working out. But just thinking about how now we actually have something legitimate that we don't have. Oh, maybe this core could be good one day. Now we're thinking, like, this core is incredible, and the moves that we're making now might put us in line to win a title. Like, it's just, it still feels so weird to see all these outlets talking so positively about the Magic offseason. And just like all of you, we do want to see it on the floor. But in the meantime, what are we just going to sit here and say, oh, I don't know about this, guys? We want to be excited about it, at least for now. And if it goes bad, it goes bad. But at least we had that time where we were excited instead of just, not reacting emotionally to it whatsoever. To me, that's not fun.
Well, the other part of it is we have 3 months. What are we going to do for 3 months?
True, yeah.
Look, listen, in like September, October, as we're getting geared up, I am going to shift from excitement to terror.
Oh yeah, I'm already halfway there.
I'm already getting there. I'm going to be terrified of this season because for the first time in literally 15 years, there are expectations in Central Florida for this basketball team, not just from the fans, but now from the national media and from honestly the ownership, the front office, the executives. It is all built to this, right? We're pushing chips in, we're going for it. So there is now pressure in Central Florida to perform. And so, yeah, I'm going to be pooping myself in September, October, all the way through to April. But in the meantime, I've got 3 months until we can see this team play basketball. And for now, I'm going to be excited. But like I said, as the calendar flips July to August, August to September, September to October, my mood's going to shift. It's going to be scary. I'm already scared of it, but I think it's very possible that this could be a very fun season.
Speaking of pooping yourself, do you think you'll need some Dependas?
Oh, that's a choice, Jonathan.
For those of you that don't know, Depends are like old people diapers, essentially. But
I think most people get that. But
yeah, some of our younger audience, they don't have to deal with those kind of problems. So maybe they don't know. But the Magic announced the signing of Noah Penda. Per team policy, when they do a press release to make an announcement like that, they never disclose terms of the deal. However, we have heard, and I'm verifying this on SpotTrack, that it is a 4-year deal, $8.6 million contract, which is similar to the Caleb Houston deal, which I don't know why I didn't bring this up during the draft episode, but Noah Penda, Caleb Houston, both picked with the same pick, number 32. Caleb, I think it was 4 years, $8 million. So the Penda deal is a bit more. And it's structured interestingly. I don't think I've seen something like this before. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. It's a 4-year deal. Only the first 2 years are guaranteed. And then only the 4th year has a club option. So 2027, 2028 is not guaranteed. And then 28, 29 is a club option. So I guess they could waive him after the 2027, 2028, and then or after the 26-27 season, and then after the 27-28 season, they could decline his option, which to me, it's not exactly a waiving. So I guess it's like a league mechanism where the Magic could waive him, but then another team could pick him up off of waivers, I guess, after that season if they wanted to, and then they would have control of him that season and then have a club option. I guess all the other terms of your contract are honored if you're picked up off of waivers. So maybe he would keep the option. Not really sure about that, but it's interesting to say the least. And unlike a lot of front-loaded deals, this is actually backloaded. So it's 1.2 this year, then 2.1, 2.5, and 2.7 in that 4th year. But it's cool to see these guys like Jace Richardson also sign his rookie scale contract as well this week, and seeing the behind the scenes videos of those guys. Like Jace Richardson grew up, his dad NBA player, probably had a pretty good feeling throughout his life that he had a shot at making the NBA, but to see him so excited to still sign that first deal, just a really cool moment to be able to witness that for these guys, like the biggest moment of their life.
Yeah, and it also confirms what we heard from Jeff Weltman, indirectly, I think, but in sort of, saying, yeah, he's going to be on the team. This is not a guy we're drafting to throw to Osceola or anything like that. Although, there's always a possibility that could happen in some roundabout way. But this is a guy that the team believes in. You don't lock a guy at least guaranteed for 2 years, but really a deal for 4 years without. And I should also add, you don't trade up for a guy if you don't believe in him. That's the other part of this. So, yeah, they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're saying they believe in him, and until we have a reason to believe otherwise, I'm choosing to believe in him too. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit later about Summer League, which tips off this week. So excited to see kind of his game in a little bit more of an NBA setting. Obviously, it's not real NBA setting, but I think it's great, and I'm definitely excited. It's very, as we've talked about many times, it's very important to have cheap, affordable, but serviceable players right now. And so if Noah Penda can do that and the Magic have him locked in at a very good rate for 4 years, I think it could be very big for the team.
Yeah, it's at this point, like you see it with OKC, like hitting on, either late lottery guys or post lottery guys, second round guys. You just have to be able to hit on those picks. You don't have to bat 1,000 on those, but kind of has to be close to 50-50 because with all these cap situations, the more cheap good players you can have, obviously the better to continue to build around these guys and build this roster out. And since the moratorium ended Sunday at noon, the Magic could also officially announce that they have signed Tyus Jones to a 1-year deal. We know that that's a $7 million deal. Of course, they don't disclose those terms. And he is going to wear number 2, most recently worn by Caleb Houston. So I tweeted out that this could all but confirm that Caleb is not going to be back. Now, they just don't really have a lot of money to pay Caleb at this point. And the fact that a dude's jersey number was just given away, and the fact that, we got the Moe news 3 days ago as you're listening to this, we haven't heard even a whisper, about Caleb Houston. So it seems like Caleb is gone. And, I'm sad about that. I wish Caleb was sticking around, yeah.
I was going to say, like, we haven't heard whispers of him coming back. But we also haven't heard whispers of him going anywhere. Not saying he's going to come back, but the possibility is still there until he signs for someone else. The possibility is still there. But as you mentioned earlier, teams just don't have money, and I think right now Caleb Houston is obviously seeing what kind of value he has for the teams around the league that have some level of money remaining. Seeing if he can find a spot. And yeah, I mean, the Magic are obviously very strapped financially at this point with what they can do. We have 2-way spots open. But outside of that, as far as I can understand, there's not a way to bring Caleb back without some other move, is how it looks to me, unless it's a 2-way, which not totally out of the realm of possibility. I guess if he gets only 2-way offers from other teams, then yeah, he'll probably come back to Orlando. But at this point, yeah, it's leaning that way. The whole jersey thing, yeah, that could also be an indicator, but we've seen players give jersey numbers away to vets all the time. So who knows? But yeah, it does seem like it is leaning towards Caleb Houston maybe finding a different home next season.
Well, according to SpaTrack, right now the Magic have $189,704,322 allocated for next year. The apron is set at $195,945,000. This is including Tyus Jones, including the Noah Penda deal, but it's not including the Moe Wagner money.
Right.
Those numbers just yet. So that's going to put you at $194,704,000.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to leave you with just over $1 million left.
Right.
And I believe due to Caleb's terms, like years of service at this point, that he cannot take $1 million to sign with the Magic, right, even if he wanted to. The only option I believe that the Magic would have would be to sign Caleb to a 2-way,
right?
Because they do have that roster spot open. And I forget what the 2-way is. I know it's less than $1 million.
It is, yeah.
But does Caleb want to sign a 2-way at this point of his career? Right. If he does, that would be awesome. Would love to have Caleb here. But all signs are pointing to Caleb not being here next year, right, which when I think back to the Caleb Houston locker room photo, sitting there, kind of slouched over in front of the ice bucket, just sucks that dude won't be around. It would be cool for all of these guys, who have been a part of this since the Magic have really started building to be able to see it through. And the, less guys that get to do that, it is a little bit sad in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, look, like I said, maybe the market for Caleb Houston, that's the market. Maybe everyone's just sees him as a 2-way player. And if that's the case, yeah, Caleb's going to pick, or if the only options on the table are 2-way contracts with other teams, he's going to come back to Orlando probably, right? But I mean, let's be honest. I certainly think a team out there is going to offer him at the very least the minimum, that he can earn. So we'll see. But yeah, we'll be rooting for Caleb, whether he's in Orlando or somewhere else, unless he goes somewhere like Miami. If he goes Miami, I don't think I can root for Caleb Houston. Love you, bro, but you got to go somewhere else. So,
Probably
but anyway,
will not be able to do that.
Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, let's talk a little summer league. I think we might have mentioned the schedule on the last pod, but in case that we did not, they will tip off July 10th. So later this week. What is that going to be?
Thursday, right?
Is that going to be Thursday? Yeah, Thursday against Sacramento, 7:30 Eastern. That's going to be on NBA TV. And then the 13th, so that would be Sunday. They play Toronto at 6 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Then that'll be the following Tuesday, July 15th. They play Oklahoma City at 6:30 Eastern. And then the very next day, I guess that'll be Wednesday, the 16th, against Brooklyn at 7:30 Eastern. That'll be on NBA TV. And then we have to kind of see how everything shakes out with that to see, how many more games they might have after that. Magic assistant coach Amir Bahur is coaching the Summer League team, the head coach this year, so a big opportunity for him. And then we do have the Magic Summer League roster as well. As expected, Jace Richardson, Tristan Da Silva, Noah Penda, and then Jalen Crutcher, Lance Terry, Dakota LeFew, Alondas Williams, Georgi Jovanovic, Jaden Akins, Wendell Moore Jr., teammate of Paolo Banchero at Duke, if I remember correctly, Ethan Thompson, who is already signed to a two-way deal with the Magic, Nate Santos, John L. Davis, Marcio Santos, Kyler Kelly, Lynn Kidd, Zach Fremantle, Marcus Bingham Jr., Lazar Stefanovic, Brandon Huntley Hatfield. Quite the list of names there. Obviously, they always carry, close to 20 guys on these rosters because, like, Tristan is probably going to play 2, maybe 3 games and then shut it down. Possibly the same for Jace Richardson, Noah Penda. A lot of these guys are going to get opportunity as well. But I will say for the first time in a long time, it doesn't seem like, maybe we're looking for like a diamond in the rough. The Magic do have two-way spots open, but I just don't really see any type of path for really these guys to, be like a consequential signing for the Magic. Could be wrong about that. Last year, we all had our eyes on Jay Huff, who has now been traded from the Grizzlies to the Pacers for 2 second-round picks. That, that is a move that I do think the Magic just should have held on to him last year, got him on a two-way deal. Maybe it makes some moves a little bit easier this offseason. Who knows? Did want to throw that in there really quickly. Again, probably pretty inconsequential. But looking forward to Summer League and looking forward to see especially Tristan, Jason, and Noah.
Yeah, another name to add in there, someone I'm looking at, is Jaden Akins, who was Jace Richardson's teammate at Michigan State last season. And so they shared the backcourt together. I think Jaden Akins started most, if not all, of their games last season.
I want to say it was. I know there was 2 Fears brothers. I know one of them was drafted to.
He started every game for Michigan State last year. 37 starts for Jaden last year. So yeah, he started. Obviously Jace Richardson didn't start at the beginning of the season, but started a lot of games later. But regardless,
Jeremy Fears started a lot of games. Yeah, 36 games for Michigan State as well. So
right,
yeah.
But yeah, that's cool to see those two, and I'm excited to see what kind of chemistry they have. But yeah, outside of that, there's always the part of me, just as a Magic fan and just a fan of competition, that I'm like, let's give it our best. Our best players playing 30 minutes a night. Let's go for the championship. That's just not the way the Orlando Magic do this. Okay, so yes, Tristan, Jace, especially, those guys are going to play, like you said, good minutes, probably the first couple games, and then maybe game 3 as well. But then after that, like, we'll see. Now, if they make the championship game, who knows? But I would doubt it even then. Like we've seen years past, like even the teams that make the championship games, they're resting their key guys because, literally, heaven forbid, your guy goes out there and has an injury in a summer league game just because you got a little greedy. We'd all be really angry. So, but yeah, it's exciting. Very grateful that all these games, even though they're tipping off in a Pacific time zone, they're all very East Coast friendly times this year, which is great. That doesn't always happen. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for Summer League. If for no other reason, there's going to be a little bit of Orlando Magic basketball on our TVs this week.
Do you feel that the Magic are done this offseason?
Yeah. 95 6% done, probably. I don't know. Like, obviously, there's still two-way situations. Obviously, the Magic can fill those, but outside of that, it's hard to imagine that the only other thing, like we just talked about, the only other thing that can happen is a trade. And we've talked about some guys that could be dealt. You know, we mentioned on the last episode, Jet could be dealt, Goga could be dealt. I don't know. I feel like this front office and this franchise also values continuity. And we've already rocked the boat so much this summer, and not in a bad way, but you know, if you think about losing Cole, losing KCP, losing Gary Harris, and then now you talk about adding new players, you know, Desmond Bain, Tyus Jones, Jace Richardson, Noah Penda, and adding 2 more assistant coaches. Like that's a lot of movement for a franchise that hasn't had that in many years. And so I'm leaning towards probably no, but I've said it once, I'll say it many times between now and February. If this team is not playing to the level that we expect come February, I absolutely do think this team could be active at the trade deadline. But in the meantime, this summer, I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel very strongly that there probably will be a deal at or you know, around the deadline.
Yeah.
Just because, you know, Tyus Jones, Moe Wagner, if you want, well, Tyus Jones, you know, is probably super unlikely. Just the fact that, you know, Paolo's extension is going to kick in. Like bringing Tyus Jones back might even be impossible. I don't really know. I'd have to look at it. Like you'd have to move a lot of salary, I think, to be able to get underneath the. I guess you're going to be at the hard cap again when that Paolo extension kicks in. Like you're going to have to move so much to be able to bring a guy like Tyus back.
Yep.
But if you want to have room to bring Moe Wagner back, you're going to have to move guys. It's just kind of the way that it is. So,
but
I do think. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if this team is firing on all cylinders and is literally one of the best teams in the league,
sure,
then I don't think they make a move, right? Like, but it has to, like, we have to be like exceeding expectations, I think, by them. But I think outside of that, you're right. Because obviously, if this team is top of the East and threatening to win a title, they're not going to rock the boat for the sake of money. They're going to try to win it this year and then figure it out in the summer. But I agree. Yeah, if this team is even just a mid team, like just not quite feeling right, or certainly if they're underperforming, then I think deals could definitely happen.
Yeah, I would say that we're probably done. I'm like 80% sure, maybe 70% sure that we're done, just because it does feel like there are still like names out there, like, you know, Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony is going to find a home this offseason. You know, there's enough names out there that like there are still some things that have to happen. And, you know, if the Magic, I think I would still be, you know, if the Magic can get something for Jet, because I don't think they're going to pick up his player option, you know, for his, I guess that'll be his 4th year, right? I just don't see him being on the team after this year. So if they can move him for something that allows them to have a little bit of space to bring somebody else in, if they bring Caleb back for 2 years, $6 million, if you move Jet, you know, for that, which by the way, we've had some people comment about us like being disrespectful to Jet. We're just trying to speak to like the reality of the situation. And in respect to Jet, I think it's best for him to go somewhere else where he would have more of an opportunity. Not that he can't play, but he hasn't shown that he can for the Magic to justify giving him like a promised rotation spot.
Right.
And he hasn't had the opportunity maybe that he needs to show that he is worthy of that. Worthy's a bad word. Like that he's earned that to this point.
And I would just say,
no disrespect, but it's the reality. I don't know how you can look at all the circumstance and come to a different conclusion.
Right. And even like financially speaking, right? Like he's going to earn $5.5 million this year. And we just spent, you know, this entire episode talking about how teams don't have money. And so like you have to make the most of the money that you do spend, especially with the Magic going forward and, you know, the Paolo extension kicking in and all that kind of stuff. Like if the Magic don't see a route for Jet Howard to be a contributor for this team, you know, at $5.5 million or even, 26, 27 with the club option, that's 7.3
Jet is going to be making
million.
more money than Moe Wagner.
Right.
Year.
This year. Right. And that's not talking about his club option the year after. That's $7.3 million. Right. And so it's just a business move. And I agree with what you said, Jonathan. We have not seen him prove that he's worth the $5 million. And obviously that hurts. And, we like, it's nothing personal against the guy. Like, I have no reason to root against Jet Howard. He hasn't done anything to me. But yeah, it's just a statement of statistics and numbers. And it's just, unfortunately, the way the NBA is as a business. But yeah, just it's the harsh reality.
Yeah, the Magic have until Halloween of this year to decide on that club option. So we'll know that, basically like the second week of the season. But I would guess that we'll have a decision on that before that.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on one thing that you said, and it's a good point. The fact that there is a world in which the Magic aren't done, because there are still a lot of dominoes that have to fall around the league still. Like, I mean, every day we're hearing talks, Bradley Beal is going to get bought out.
Yeah.
You mentioned a guy like Cole Anthony. There are other people that are in Cole Anthony's situation where teams are trying to shop them, but it's not working, or, they're going to have to end up just getting second round picks for somebody, or they're going to, try to waive a guy or waive and stretch a guy like we mentioned Bradley Beal, or, a guy like Nikola Vucevic his name's being thrown out there.
I wasn't going to bring it up.
I brought it up for you.
Promised I wasn't going to bring it up.
Here, before you go there, let me just say, and I'm not saying the Magic are going to try to get Bradley Beal. Like, it's not realistic. But what I'm saying is some of these deals that still have to be done are going to take teams that it's going to require teams to help facilitate it, is what I'm trying to get at. There are still going to be deals out there that require a third team to throw in X, Y, and Z asset. There are going to be players that are waived, and then they're going to be signed by another team, but that team has to shed salary. And so there's just still a lot of mostly smaller moves to be made across the league. And so I think you're right. I think there is a world in which the Magic could make a small move or two, and maybe it is sending a guy like Jet Howard somewhere. I don't know. But there's also the world where Nikola Vucevic gets waived, and then he'll sign anywhere he wants for the vet minimum, and the Magic move mountains to make it happen. And then Vooch is our third string center, maybe, or back up until Mo comes back. I don't know.
There was a report, and I'm trying to find it now, a report that came out a couple of days ago that the Bulls are obviously having trouble trading Vooch. It sounds like they've been trying to trade him for the last couple of seasons, have not found a trade partner just yet. Okay, so it's Evan Sidery, who has grown in prominence, on NBA Twitter this year, NBA contributor for Forbes. Some people have questioned, how accurate his reporting is. I don't really want to speak to that, but I also can't vouch for it and say I know that this is legit. But basically that the trade market is dried up and that he wants to finish his career on a contending team, so a buyout could be an option. If the Magic are able to dump some salary and Vooch wants to come back to Orlando for like a minimum deal, if they can shed enough salary to do that, I personally would be on board for that 100%. If you're going to try to argue with me that like Goga Bitadze is a better NBA player than Nikola Vucevic at this point, just respectfully, we can agree to disagree. If we want to talk about fit, maybe that's a different conversation. But it's like, okay, well, how often is he living up to that fit? And again, totally different conversation, not trying to be disrespectful to Goga Bitadze. But yeah, if I can bring 9 back and I have to dump some salary to do it, I'm doing it 100%. Yeah. Don't come for me. I don't want to see you in the comments. Just agree to disagree. Let's keep it civil. But yeah, I had to bait a little bit on, social media when I saw that.
And just to be clear, the only way that happens is if Chicago waives him. Like, the Magic cannot trade for him. Financially, it's just not possible. You do $21 million this year. So if the Bulls are able to waive him, and then that way Vooch still gets his money, but then is able to sign somewhere for literally the minimum, which I think is what would probably happen if that were the case. He can pick anywhere he wants, anywhere that has money and that he wants to be. But yeah, I think that could be very interesting. I don't think it's going to happen, for the record. That feels like a long shot, but I would also be all for it. And honestly, financially, it saves the team money, because what's Goga do this year? Like what was it?
8 million, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say either high 7s or 8. And then, Vooch's vet minimum will be under that. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be just another exciting move that we could add to this offseason.
Yeah, $8.3 million for Goga this year. And Vooch, 21.4 left on his deal. So even if, they wanted to like stretch, basically they would pay $7 million this year and over the next 2 years if they wanted to move Vooch. But I don't know. It's like, you just want to lose the asset for nothing because he's expiring after this year. And then back to our point about like there are dominoes that need to fall. I'm looking at the list of free agents of guys that I would almost guarantee are going to be on rosters this year. Malcolm Brogdon, Marvin Bagley, Chris Boucher, Chris Paul, Al Horford, Gary Payton II, Trey Lyles, Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kuminga. Those guys are still restricted free agents who, will kind of figure out what's going on there. Obviously, a guy like Russell Westbrook, Seth Curry, there are plenty of guys out there who are very clearly still NBA players who are, going to need to get signed at some point this offseason. And then, teams looking around and they say, okay, well, yeah, maybe we want to take a flyer on this guy. And can you trade, a Jet Howard? Who really knows? But yeah, the more that we talk about it, the less confident I am that the Magic are really done. But they're mostly done. They might have one at the max 2 moves left in this offseason. But I do feel good enough at this point to not have to be glued at my phone 24/7 to see, what's going to happen. Honestly, I was going to be very, very upset if we were not able to bring Mo back, and I'm glad that has been put to bed.
Yeah. Until you can have your phone down until the Bulls waive Vooch, and then that phone's gonna be glued to your hand once again. I'm just kidding.
Hey man, whatever I can do to make that happen. I've already been spreading the propaganda. Vooch, I don't think he listens to the pod on a regular basis, but if you're out there, I got number 9 signed over here in the corner. I got to get it up on this wall sooner rather than later, but I would welcome the big fella home with open arms.
Well, we did this exercise on the last episode, and so maybe we wrap up this episode doing the same. Everybody close your eyes with me and let's envision this.
Unless you're driving.
Unless you're driving, yeah, thank you. June 2026, the Orlando Magic at Kia Center defeat the Houston Rockets in, let's say, 5 games, because game 5 will be at home because we'll have home court advantage. And they defeat him in 5 games, and then the confetti's coming down, and Adam Silver hands the trophy over, and then we see Nikola Vucevic lift Larry O'Brien trophy at center court over his head, rides off into the sunset. It's his final image as an NBA player. That's his last game. He retires after that, and it's just poetic. Okay, you can open your eyes now.
Let's see. Yeah, dude is 35.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I'm not ready for a Vooch to retire. But yeah, thinking about, what's so funny? When he was traded, Vooch, Evan, AG, I did like a narrative kind of tribute for each of them. We did like a tribute video. And I had a line in that I haven't thought of this in a couple of years, but I said, this isn't ending the way that we all wanted to with you lifting the Larry O'Brien, trophy. As I think I said, as confetti falls to the Amway floor. Mm-hmm. I'm low key getting emotional. If it's not happening. If you're getting mad listening to this, like we're in fantasy land silly season right now. Yeah. But yeah, for a dude who is probably no lower than like my 3rd or 4th like favorite Magic player of all time, like would absolutely freaking love for that to become a reality. And this actually just popped up on my timeline, so this is probably a sign that it's not happening. It's the photo of Jokic and Vooch together saying, "Oh, we played Counter-Strike a lot together." Which, look, the Valanciunas thing, it all the reporting that I've seen today, it seems like he's going to stay and honor the contract with the Nuggets. If you're not aware, he got a, I guess, pretty lucrative offer from, I'm not going to try to say the team name, the Greek, basketball team. Mm-hmm. But it sounds like he's going to stay in Denver. So
Right.
Are they then going to also bring on Vooch if he enters into a buyout? I think the Magic would probably be the betting favorites if they were able to open up cap space to sign Vooch in that, like, where he wants to go to another new city for 1 year. Like, I don't know. I can hope and pray, but if you're listening to this, you think I'm an idiot, just keep that to yourself. I don't care to hear it this time.
That's right.
All right?
Yeah.
Being totally honest.
Yeah. Sign me up. That'd be awesome.
I think that's a good way to wrap this up. The haters are going to hate regardless, but 9 will always be welcome in my eyes. That is going to do it for this one. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the 6-Man Show. We will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the 6th Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at 6th Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!